Hi everyone, in this lesson we're going to go over digestive accessory organs. These are organs that are not part of the main GI tract. They are not the hollow tube that food passes through, but they add elements to the hollow tube of your mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, and it's going to add stuff to that GI tract organs tube to aid and facilitate digestion. So the accessory organs we're going to go over is the tongue, the liver, the gallbladder, the salivary glands, as well as the pancreas. Actually, we're not going to go over the tongue so much, but we are going to go over the teeth a little bit. So, this is key vocab we're going to go over, and we're going to go over the function and the stuff produced by these key accessory organs. Now, what makes an accessory organ an accessory organ? Basically, it's not a hollow tube organ. Food does not pass through that accessory organ, but the accessory organ can be inside or on one edge of the GI tract organ. They may aid in mechanical digestion, but a lot of the accessory organs we're going to go over contribute chemicals or enzymes that help aid that process. There's a missing word there. Most accessory organs contribute chemicals or enzymes or help that aid digestion. When I talk about enzymes, I'm talking particularly about digestive enzymes, whose main job is to break chemical bonds in larger molecules to turn them into smaller molecules. All right, so there's two main divisions of the digestive system, like we talked about. We went over GI tract or alimentary canal on the last lesson. In this lesson, we're going to go over the accessory organs. There are other accessory organs than this list. I'm going to go over these ones only, though. For example, a tongue would be considered an accessory organ in your mouth in addition to the teeth. So now we're going to explore the accessory organs that really help your GI tract organs digest food. So what makes them accessory organs? Accessory organs assist the hollow tube, but they actually don't have food pass through the accessory organs themselves, meaning you have teeth that's going to help your mouth, which is the actual main organ, grind the food so it's smaller, i.e. mechanically digest your food, but because food doesn't go inside the teeth, it doesn't count as a main organ, it's an accessory organ. Likewise, your salivary glands are going to create saliva, but food doesn't go into your salivary gland. Your salivary gland is putting saliva, which is water, mucus, and all its enzymes, into your mouth, your main digestive organ, your mouth, and to interact with the food inside your mouth. So main organ, food is inside it. Accessory organs help out, but food never goes through an accessory or into an accessory organ. So in this case with salivary gland, it says gland, but I should really write salivary glands because there's actually multiple salivary glands all throughout your mouth. There's the parotid gland, there's a submandibular gland, there's a sublingual gland. So you actually have, and there's pairs of them. So you actually have a total of 6 salivary glands all throughout your mouth, making this wonderful fluid with lots of water to help moisten and soften your food as you chew it, but also has these enzymes, amylase and lipase. Now, the interesting thing with amylase and lipase is they actually don't do a ton of digestion in your mouth. So amylase itself actually starts breaking down carbohydrate starches, and it's actually really good at it. But think about how long you actually chew your food. A lot of us, while you might chew your food for 30 seconds, you'd actually really need to chew your food for several minutes and let it sit, let the amylase sit with that food for a while to allow it to really truly break down those starches. And the reality is you're probably going to swallow that food very quickly. And that food's going to enter in your stomach. But your stomach has a wildly different pH than your mouth. Your stomach is pH 2, acidic. Your mouth is pH 7, 8, which is neutral. So actually this amylase is going to get immediately denatured, meaning it'll stop working. And that's that. Likewise, lipase, again, it's going to be able to access some of the lipids in your food, but the reality is, and you're going to learn this later, is you can't really break down lipids without this substance called bile. Bile and lipase are needed to work together in order to access and break down lipids. So it'll do a very small amount of lipid digestion, just a couple molecules. So why would you even have these enzymes in your mouth in the first place? Well, the reality is you have these
beautiful taste buds in your mouth that detect the presence of food. But taste buds could only access small, tiny bits of food, meaning short molecules of food. And the food molecules that are present in what you just ate are maybe perhaps a bit too big for your taste buds to detect. So by doing just a teeny bit of digestion, not enough to actually fully digest the food, but maybe break down a couple molecules. Some of those broken down molecules are then going to interact with your taste buds, and that's flavor. You're going to be like, oh, this is very rich. This is very fatty or slightly sweet food. And your taste buds are going to detect that, communicate with your nervous system, and then your nervous system is going to tell the digestive organs later down your digestive tract, your small intestine, and all its accessory organs, your stomach, to start making more enzymes because food is on its way, and it's letting your body know simply by doing just a teeny bit of digestion to interact with the taste buds in your mouth. Okay? And beyond that, mucus is going to help, again, further soften and make that food bolus, the food bolus. Again, bolus is a ball of food. Slip and slide down your esophagus a little bit more easily. And you might have some antibodies in your mouth. That just helps you detect and fight off any potential really bad stuff that might be in your food. Unfortunately, if you have a food allergy, those antibodies actually might trigger an allergic reaction. But for most of us, they're mainly there to fight off disease.
All right. The second major section that receives a lot of aid from accessory organs is your small intestine, particularly your duodenum. So your duodenum or your duodenum is the initial section of your small intestine that is attached to your stomach. So if you recall, we have our stomach, but the tube that's hooking out of your stomach at the end of it, that's the small intestine, the initial part of your small intestine, and we call it the duodenum. That is a section that gets a lot of material from your gallbladder as well as your liver dumped into it, and it mixes with the contents coming out of the stomach. So one of the key things coming into there is something called bile. So bile is a really important liquid chemical. It's actually called bile salts that emulsifies fat. So it doesn't digest fat. Well, not in terms of the chemical bond, but it does make that fat more accessible for enzymes. So the way it works is it takes the fat. So you probably know that fat will not mix with water. If you put a lot of oil in water, that oil will kind of float on top and refuse to mix into the water. That actually is a big issue because your stomach acid and the chyme in your body is mainly water. Okay? So without bile, the fat will not mix into your chyme, especially in your small intestine. And then because the fat stays separate from everything else, you can't get enzymes into that fat to digest the fat. So what bile is going to do is going to break that fat into tiny drops. And what that's going to effectively do is prevent the oil from separate, or the fat lipid from separating from your stomach acid. Instead, it's going to mix it into the chyme, basically. The chyme that left your stomach and is entering your small intestine is going to all mix up into one smooth mix. And what that bile salt is going to do is, because they're tiny droplets, now you can dump a bunch of enzymes into this chyme, and any enzymes you have, especially for fat, are going to be able to access all of the fat really easily to break it down super quickly. So the bile is actually produced by your liver. So your liver plays a huge role in many, many things, but in particular in the digestive system, it forms bile. Now, that bile can be released directly into the small intestine, as you can see here through this tube, into your duodenum. But in addition to that, it also plays some other roles. So one thing you may not know is your liver. It's actually one of the really large organs in your abdominal cavity. And it actually can store a lot of excess food. So it stores and releases nutrients. So if you have extra glucose in your blood, you can store it as glycogen in your liver. If you have extra vitamins, lipids, or amino acids, which again, amino acids are parts of proteins, if you have excess of any of that, you can actually store it in your liver if you don't have a place to put it in your body. Another thing that your liver does is it plays a role in breakdown of materials coming through your digestive system. So any toxins and stuff like that coming out of your digestive system gets a chance to be passed through your liver and filtered to prevent it from moving into your blood and potentially going to your brain and damaging it and stuff like that. So those are the main roles the liver does in just the digestive system. It plays roles in other places like your immune system to a degree, and in particular your cardiovascular system has a liver play a role in there, but we're just going to focus on the digestive system. But the biggest thing it does is produce bile. Now sometimes it's producing bile, but there's no food in your system, so what are you going to do with that bile? Well, you can stick it in your gallbladder, which is going to store and concentrate that bile so it's extra potent. And then when you eat a really huge meal, you'll have a huge pocket of bile that you can dump into your duodenum to really facilitate and speed up that emulsification, that mixing of fat, so that it can then be broken down. So where do we get the enzymes to break down fat, as well as enzymes to break down other food molecules in your small intestines? Well, some of it is made by your small intestines, but a huge amount of those enzymes are coming out of your pancreas. So your pancreas is this yellow, soft, squishy organ that's sits right underneath the stomach. And again, it has tubes to dump its content directly into the duodenum. So one of the big things it does is it has bicarbonate. So bicarbonate is baking soda. If you look at the back of a baking soda carton, it's got calcium bicarbonate or sodium bicarbonate in it. And bicarbonate is the thing that neutralizes acid. So if you mix vinegar with baking soda, the baking soda helps stop the vinegar. In this case, this neutralizes the acid coming out of your stomach. So your stomach has an acidic pH of 2 to 4, and that acid can damage and burn the small intestine. But because your pancreas is making bicarbonate, it neutralizes the acid and brings it back to a neutral pH of 7 to 8, so that everything in your small intestine is at a pH of 7, 8. That's not going to be damaging. In addition to this, the pancreas also makes a bunch of enzymes. So some of these enzymes include trypsin, which is an enzyme that digests protein in the small intestine, because pepsin from your stomach won't work anymore. It also makes more amylase to add to the small intestine, because the amylase made by your mouth, your salivary glands in your mouth, is no longer active. So this can help add more carbohydrate digestion that is in your small intestine, as well as lipase. Or lipase is the enzyme that actually digests fat molecules into smaller molecules. So bile helps mix it so that lipase from your pancreas can digest it chemically. In addition to that, your pancreas also produces hormones called insulin and glucagon that actually regulate the blood sugar levels. So you may know of insulin. If you're diabetic, you have a hard time controlling your blood sugar, and oftentimes one of the reasons is because your insulin isn't working the way it should. Okay, so this is a summary picture I showed you earlier in the past of the digestive organs, both the GI tract organs as well as accessory organs, kind of like a quick map of it. So again, if you want to, you can print this picture or kind of make your own version of it. I just find it as a good reference, but the lecture, this covers all the stuff that was covered in the lecture. So accessory organs primarily play a major role in providing digestive enzymes to help break the bonds in large food molecules or provide ways for enzymes to access that food. All right. So the teeth in your mouth, while they aren't enzymes, they do help chew your food so that into smaller bits, so that enzymes like the enzymes from your salivary glands, like amylase, are able to access that food better. It also breaks it down into food so that by the time it reaches your stomach and then your small intestine, it'll be able to be accessed better. All right. In addition to that, the salivary glands, besides the amylase, also add other material, and together it's going to help break down the carbohydrates and soften your food a little bit before it enters your GI tract in the pharynx and your esophagus. Now, bile, just be careful. A lot of students tell me bile is a thing that is needed to break the lipids into fatty acids, into smaller molecules. But Bile is not the enzyme itself. Bile helps mix fat so that it can be accessed by the enzyme. So bile helps mix the fat into the chyme. But the thing that's actual, which we also called emulsifying, but the thing that actually digests the fat itself is called lipase, and that's from your pancreas. So your pancreas provides the enzyme. Your liver and small intestine, your liver and gallbladder provide the bile for mixing. Okay? All right. Finally, pretty much if you have an enzyme you need for digestion, while some enzymes are made by your mouth or by your salivary glands in your mouth and in your stomach, which is not accessory gland, but just a GI tract organ, pretty much every enzyme you need to digest food is created by your pancreas. Okay? And your pancreas does a lot of work in digestion. In addition to that, it'll provide bicarbonate to prevent damage from your stomach acid. All right, so that concludes the accessory organs for this section. So move on to any other work you have. Bye.